All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What It Means to Be a Next Generation Managed Service Provider, featuring Amazon Web Services, Datadog, and Cloudhesive. Now, before we get started, I just want to run through a few housekeeping logistics for you as far as this webinar is concerned. The first is that the duration of this webinar is 60 minutes, so we will conclude at the top of the hour at 2 p.m. Eastern. We will have a Q&A section, and that will take place at the end of the webinar. So feel free to hold all questions until then, but you can ask them via the chat panel, and we'll do our best to get to all of those during the Q&A session. Finally, please keep yourself on mute at all times, and this webinar will be recorded, and the recording and the slides will be shared with you afterwards. Now with that, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenters. First, we have John Gray, the SVP of Alliances with Datadog, Thomas Robinson, a Solutions Architect at Amazon Web Services, and Patrick Hanna, VP of Engineering with Cloudhesive. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to John Gray so we can begin today's discussion around what it means to be a next-generation managed service provider.
Incredibly strong partners of ours, and we're very excited to be with you on the call today. One of the core objectives around this is the AWS MSP certification and the next-gen MSP. So let's just talk through a few things that we at Datadog see that's going on around our MSP partners and kind of what's driving the need for kind of our MSPs to kind of move forward and become kind of a next-gen MSP, and why we're seeing huge deployment of Datadog around that kind of environment. So as recently as some Accenture research that was done recently, our enterprise customers are in some, I think there's roughly 80% of our enterprise customers are in some form of hybrid cloud migration. So customers are on a journey, and that is that yesterday they were able to go into their data centers, stroke their servers, and today they're actually looking to move those workloads over to the cloud, to phenomenal public cloud platforms, AWS on the call, and drive all kinds of benefits off the back of doing that. So they're on a journey, and of course their concern is, as I move to this modern infrastructure, are my workloads safe on that journey? How quickly can I get that deployment done? And how much better will my workloads perform as I go through that journey? And very often what they're doing is they're turning to our MSPs to basically manage all of that for them. So there's incredible pressure on MSPs. We're seeing the MSP marketplace explode in terms of growth as customers are doing two things. One, moving away from that old traditional model and are moving to public cloud platforms like AWS. And they're looking to put that pressure and that journey on the shoulders of our MSPs. So what Datadog provides is really that full visibility, not only in terms of that journey, the before, during, and after, if you like, of that hybrid cloud migration, but more importantly, once that journey has been completed, we can, off the back of that confidence that we give you, giving that real-time visibility into what is going on at the infrastructure level, as well as the application performance level, we give you that confidence to then deploy more and more workloads once that journey has been completed. So in terms of the monitoring aspects of this and the journey, essentially what a lot of MSPs have been doing is they've been using open source and various different types of tools that haven't necessarily worked together, have been open source, have required a lot of management, have been on-prem, and basically require a lot of hand-holding because they don't necessarily apply across infrastructure and applications and workloads. So, some of the benefits that I think that we bring to the table here today from a Datadog point of view is the full visibility across your infrastructure and your applications through common dashboards, if you like. We give that alerting and abnormalities capability so that you can set the alerts that are important to you around the KPIs and the SLAs that you've set with your customers. And also we give you the ability to analyze historical data provide ongoing continuous compliance. But even better, we provide that because we're born in the cloud and it's a cloud-based offering that we can provide you. Essentially, we provide that both in the cloud and for on-prem applications as well. More importantly, with over 200 vendor-certified integrations, that view of the SLAs, the KPIs, comes with the ability to ingest data from things like CloudWatch, but also from other vendor-certified offerings like, say, ServiceNow and others, right? So what is incredibly important now is the span and scope and the pressure that is on MSPs to be managing to the KPIs and the SLAs of those enterprise customers is getting more intense every day and has a greater breadth. So really the other benefit that we bring to the table is the ability to do it organization-wide. This is not just a few people who might have that open source monitoring tool installed. This is now the ability from the cloud to enable your organization to basically adopt this and all be looking at the same real-time data in terms of performance. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Great. So the other real benefit around Datadog is the fact that we're cloud ready. As I mentioned, we are seeing massive changes going on around the infrastructure that our MSPs are required to manage. And essentially what we give you the benefit to do is, as our MSPs are challenged with taking down workloads, putting up new workloads, moving workloads across an infrastructure, you're able to do that end-to-end, leveraging the Datadog platform. And so the other thing that can often be a point of contention is the cycle between dev and ops. And of course, again, from a single pane of glass aspect, now we can actually drive more harmony, I would say, in terms of that app or workload development cycle and deployment by everyone looking at the same information real time in terms of what is going on both at the infrastructure level and in terms of the application workload. So what that does, the outcome of that is that we essentially drive streamlining of dev and deployment cycles. And essentially what we do is we remove a lot of the pain that historically has been there from installing maybe open source tools that are maybe just a few individuals or maybe one department, by having that cloud-based platform that everybody can access. Whether you're a department or whether you're multiple departments, you can now be looking at the same real-time data as to what is going on within the infrastructure as well as the workloads. So let's just look at some of the outcomes then from our MSPs, and certainly some of the benefits that we hear from our MSPs today. Number one is, I would say that at the end of the day, we recognize that our MSPs are in agreements under SLAs and KPIs with their customers. And one of the most important things that we're able to help our MSPs do a better job, get better visibility, but more importantly, meet those KPIs and SLAs. And I believe that with the real-time visibility that we give you, we certainly enable you to kind of capture anomalies, abnormalities, alerts, and those kinds of things early. Even if an application is starting to degrade in terms of performance, you have that ability to capture that early. Number two, we certainly help to drive down costs in terms of support and operations, because we span many different platforms. If you think of infrastructure, you think of workloads, you think of ingesting data from CloudWatch, you think of ingesting data from other integrated platforms. We enable you to get a better view from the bridge in terms of what is going on across your infrastructure and your workloads. And of course, there's the auditing aspect, and there is the ability to put out read-only dashboards to your customers. So from a value proposition standpoint, you're being totally transparent with your customers in terms of the KPIs and the SLAs that you are meeting with them from the custom dashboards that you can put out to them on a read-only basis. Next slide, please. So why Datadog? Well, quite simply, I believe that we're quick to adopt, we're born in the cloud, and we can quickly resolve your customers' critical issues and needs. But more importantly, we can help you to show to your customers that you're meeting the SLAs and KPIs with them. We believe that because we sit across multiple platforms, that we can help you serve your customers more efficiently with that monitoring automation, if you like, that next-gen MSP goal, and provide better value to your customers, provide better stickiness to your customers through both proving out the SLAs and KPIs, but also responding more quickly to the operational needs and proving out what is going on operationally across platforms and across the infrastructure. A bit about the program that we provide to our MSPs. So essentially, the MSP program that many of our MSPs enjoy today, obviously it covers both APM and infrastructure. And that's an important point because often there may be a problem and it's not known where that problem sits. Is it at the infrastructure level? Is it at the APM level? You know there's a performance issue. So the nice thing is we give you that visibility from the cloud real time in terms of what is going on across those environments. More importantly, we provide that across department, across dev and ops, across infra and apps workloads, across the integrations that I mentioned. The ability to provide the read-only dashboards out to your customers, that's huge in terms of, I'll call it an additional value proposition that you bring, the ability to provide evidence of the performance that you're bringing through that transparency is incredibly important. We love to participate in go-to-market with our MSPs as well. We also do provide technical enablement to our MSPs to make sure that what you do around the Datadog platform is successful in terms of how you deploy us. But more importantly, as we come back to one of the original objectives of this call, we also help you meet your AWS MSP certification requirement through the monitoring that we provide. So with that, I'm going to hand over now to Thomas Robinson, Solutions Architect at AWS. Over to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm Thomas Robinson, Solutions Architect at AWS on the Managed Service Program. Today I'm going to talk about the Amazon Partner Network and our Managed Services Program and share our perspective on how the cloud is changing what our customers are looking for in a managed services solution. The AWS Partner Network is how we validate consulting and technology partners who enhance the AWS experience for our customers. Over 90% of Fortune 100 companies use the APN partner solutions or services in their organization, which is driving 100% year-over-year growth in our consulting partners. Managed service providers are doing even better than this, outperforming that number at 130%. The APN is a global network with 60% of our partners headquartered outside of the US, serving AWS customers all over the world. So no matter where your business operates, you can plan on being part of the AWS Partner Network. Before we get into specific programs, let's take a look at the different types of AWS partners. You'll see AWS partners categorized into consulting and technology partners. Consulting partners provide professional services to help customers build and operate on AWS, whether that be migrating existing workloads, building net new applications, and providing managed services. Cloudhesive is an example of one of these consulting partners. Technology partners provide commercial software that can be hosted on or integrates with AWS. This may be an application for you to deploy from AWS Marketplace onto your own resources, or as a software as a service platform that integrates with AWS or runs on AWS. Datadog's an example of a technology partner. We often see both groups creating their own partnerships to jointly serve our customers, with the technology partner providing the product and the consulting partner implementing, tuning, and managing it. So how do these partners get to where they're at now? There are different steps in the journey of being an AWS partner: registered, standard, advanced, and premier tier. At each of these stages, we have programs to help differentiate from other partners by demonstrating capabilities in different areas. At standard tier, partners can apply for service delivery distinctions, which recognize their track record aligned to AWS services such as Amazon Aurora or AWS Lambda. At advanced tier, partners are eligible to apply for competencies with their demonstrated capabilities to deliver specialized solutions. And this can be by industry, such as life sciences or financial services, applications such as mobile or IoT, or by workloads such as Microsoft Exchange or SAP. Also at advanced and premier tier, partners are eligible for the managed services program, which we'll dive deep into now. As the cloud has become a more important part of every business's technology strategy, we've seen a shift in what managed service provider customers are looking for as well. Along with the cloud, organizations are moving towards DevOps and Agile methodologies, and they need a managed service provider who can move as fast as they want to. They need help with those transformations, whether it be training and consulting to ensure best practices are followed, or managed solutions that can add value to their cloud experience. The cloud has provided new opportunities for managed service providers to be involved with their customers. Traditional value adds around managing physical devices have changed to planning and designing cloud infrastructure. As the scope of their work has shifted and expanded, MSPs have changed the way they add value for their customers. MSPs are now involved in planning and designing their customers' applications, ensuring the patterns that their customers follow result in stable and scalable environments. They're highly motivated to help their customers build cloud-native applications, adding auto-healing and auto-scaling to reduce the amount of engineers' time spent keeping systems online. For existing workloads, they help identify which are ready to migrate and provide services to help re-architect other applications to take advantage of the cost savings and stability of hosted services. When applications have been built and migrated correctly, cloud-native strategies for running and operating their customer's environment are applied. As more incident management is driven towards automated resolution, the MSP and their customer can focus on metrics that are based on business outcomes and application performance. They'll use those metrics to optimize environments to be more efficient and provide those application metrics to your DevOps teams they can use to improve their product. To help our customers identify managed service providers who provide solutions that meet these criteria, and to help new MSP partners build a practice, we've started the Managed Services Program for our advanced and premier tier consulting partners. Members of this program have access to business, technical, and marketing benefits. In order to get access to this, AWS will validate our partner's practice through a third-party audit firm who will review evidence to a set of controls defined by AWS. We encourage partners new to the partner network to use these controls as a blueprint for building a cloud MSP practice that will align to what your customers will be asking from their cloud MSP. And when you have demonstrated that you've deployed managed services in a way that meets these criteria, you'll be ready to have that audit performed to review your practice by those auditors. Before I hand it over to Patrick at Cloudhesive to talk about how they're enhancing their managed services customers' experience with Datadog, let's take a look at what the MSP validation checklist will cover. Starting with customer obsession and business health. If you've ever engaged with an AWS Partner Development Manager, you've likely heard our tenet of wanting relationships with our partners and customers to outlast us all. To that end, our auditors are going to review customer satisfaction processes, along with the overall health of your AWS practice, to ensure that we only recommend partners dedicated to providing long-term solutions for our customers. Because the design and implementation of a customer's full stack is such an important part of next-gen managed services, our auditors validate that our partners are aware of the full suite of hosted services available in AWS. This helps our customers identify opportunities to save money and improve uptime by using services such as Elasticache for Redis or Memcache, or RDS for relational databases. This, instead of running them on instances, which then adds operational overhead. This is a very important part of building a scalable managed services solution, as reducing that overhead of managing those services directly improves your overall efficiency. They also review common AWS best practices are implemented. For example, auto-scaling for scalability, auto-healing for reliability, and using things like instance profiles to gate access to AWS resources in a secure way. We'll also validate our partner service desk, reporting, and SLAs to ensure our mutual customers have a good support experience. We'll follow your processes for how you're providing a seamless support experience by integrating with the AWS Support Center, as well as how you handle and report on events and incidents. DevOps is becoming a more important part of our customers' practices, and we want to ensure our MSP partners can help our customers achieve this. The solutions you provide to your customers to deploy infrastructure and code should be compatible with modern development practices and be as agile as your customers want their development teams to be. MSPs may provide managed DevOps solutions to their customers to integrate with, or provide a more in-depth consultative engagement to help train engineers and deploy tools a customer needs to transform their practices to DevOps. They understand things like containers and microservices to be able to provide DevOps teams the newest technology and what they want to be able to move fast. Next-gen MSPs are also proficient in deploying infrastructure as code and provide paths for their customers' developers to provision resources on demand as easily as using their own AWS account. Customers are moving towards the cloud to unlock on-demand resources to enable their development teams to work faster, and they want their managed service provider to help them control that environment while not impeding progress. Managed service providers are also trusted with maintaining their customers' AWS environments, and we focus heavily on security within that validation checklist, whether that be how an MSP is protecting their own management assets, as well as helping their customers with the security of their applications. MSPs will be expected to demonstrate technical solutions such as encryption of customer details, as well as processes and procedures like red team testing against their support channels against social engineering attacks. For their customers, the shift towards encryption in infrastructure as code has provided new opportunities to improve security. Using tools like AWS Lambda to process AWS CloudTrail and config events, MSPs can respond instantly to events that violate security policy and automatically remediate incidents without involving an engineer. These solutions are often customized to meet compliance standards such as PCI or FedRAMP in order to satisfy their customers' requirements. There's one topic I didn't cover which has evolved significantly over the last few years, especially in the cloud. To adapt to a more scalable and elastic environment, implementing new monitoring strategies is an important part of next-gen managed services. I'll hand over to Patrick at Cloudhesive to talk more about how they're using Datadog to enhance their customers' experience.
Sure, thank you, Thomas. Hi everyone, my name is Patrick Hanna. I'm a VP of Engineering at Cloudhesive. I've been with Cloudhesive as a co-founder for about 3 years now, but my AWS experiences go back about 6 years. Before that, I was responsible for contact center platform operations for about 8 years. Very interesting, two really completely polar opposite careers, going from on-premise infrastructure and the care and feeding of it to nearly on-demand infrastructure provided by AWS. So I'm hoping to share some of my experience with both monitoring and management in general on AWS and how Datadog has helped us improve our processes around it. So a little background about Cloudhesive for those who are not familiar with us. We are an advanced consulting partner and a validated MSP with AWS. We essentially offer end-to-end solutions to migrate and securely operate our customers' mission-critical applications on AWS. We were founded in 2014, and our sole purpose is enabling our customers' use of the public cloud, specifically AWS. And as you can see from here, our offerings span 4 distinct categories: professional services, DevOps services, managed security services, SecOps or DevSecOps as it's called now, and what we're talking a little bit about today is the next generation managed services. So to start off, let's have a simple problem statement. What's important? Well, I need to be able to monitor or get information about my things. And this seems to be a growing number of different things we want to monitor. Previously we were looking at things like NASes, SANs, storage, network equipment, etc. Now we're looking at platforms, environments, systems. We're still looking at servers, but we're more interested in what's going on those servers, the services running, the applications running, how they're performing, not just if they're up or down. And we're actually looking at literal things. We've had some use cases where we were potentially monitoring IoT devices with Datadog. Really cool stuff. So there's also the characteristics of these things I wish to monitor. Are they up? Are they down? Are they crossing some sort of arbitrary threshold? This might be your basic CPU, memory, network, etc. checks. Are we looking for events or lack of events? Are we seeing a burst of events? So obviously when you get into monitoring, folks with different roles are going to think about it differently. They're going to look at, developers might look at how the application's performing. Operations folks might look at how the infrastructure is performing. And business folks just want to know, is it up, is it down? What sort of revenue am I generating from my application? Well, that's great, because all that is solved by Datadog. On AWS, it gets even more interesting because we have unprecedented visibility into what's going on in the infrastructure. So, you know, looking back at traditional data center approaches, you know, we were having to use a number of different protocols to determine how the SAN's performing, SNMP on network devices, etc. On AWS, it's all available through the API. There's a number of different sources of data and facilities by which to collect it. I've only just listed a few here. These are the basics. This is going to be, you know, what our infrastructure is doing, CloudWatch. Who is making changes to the infrastructure, CloudTrail, which is really cool because think about that. In a traditional data center colo environment, you relied on basically paper records for that. And finally, AWS config, which is a snapshot of what the environment looked like at any given time. On top of that, we have, you know, the stuff we've been monitoring for years: Linux, proc, syslog, Windows WMI, Windows event log, the logs generated by our applications, and then finally things like APM-driven tools, security-driven tools, and the like. So lots of data, but also different ways of getting it, through APIs, through agents, and different ways of being alerted to the fact that there's something that you should be aware of, that you should take action on. You're getting emails, SMSs, maybe voice calls, push notifications, ticket systems, a number of different areas. So this is going to create an outcome, and it's not necessarily a desirable outcome. All that data is great, but you get limited value with it when you can't trend. When there's, as John talked about, Datadog's providing a single pane of glass, not having to look at numerous different systems to get this data. Creating the redundant work as a result, having to check these different systems for these data, and finally, possibly even losing or misplacing the monitoring data. So this is one of the areas that Datadog helps to solve for us. So let's further refine our problem statement and talk about what is really important. It's not just that I need that data, and not that I just need it alerted. I need context. I need to understand that certain types of environments may warrant alerts that are Sev 1, whereas others may not. For example, a development environment that's not in use during non-development hours may not necessarily constitute a Sev 1 if there's some sort of event. That might be a Sev 2 that carries a slightly lighter SLA. Depending on what that system does, is it production but 9 to 5 versus production but 24/7? Again, I might select a different SLA. Type of customer who may be held to certain industry standards. And especially important in the context of this webinar is, does it heal itself? If I have environments that are self-healing, that auto-scale, auto-recover, there are certain alerts that I might not actually need to know about, at least, with urgency, like CPU or anything indicative of load, because I know that my auto-scaling and auto-recovery and self-healing solutions are going to take care of that themselves. Finally, this data will have two different meanings depending on whether I'm looking at it in real time or from a historical context, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So how we're using Datadog is it is the tool that is used to initially collect, sort through, process, triage, categorize that data, make a decision on what action to take. We've been using Datadog for over 2 years, and I've got to say, still now on a weekly basis, new integrations come out, and we're still continually improving our operational processes on a very frequent basis, based on the capabilities added to Datadog and the learning we get from that data. So specific to us, we're collecting all those data sources talked about on those previous slides and some. We're performing an initial triage. These are basically pre-configured monitors, looking for threshold being crossed, looking for events, and things like that. Anything that is of lower severity is going to be basically pushed to a work queue. In our case, it's going to be Jira. Anything that is of urgent need, we'll push to Ops Genie, which is basically a on-call management system. It will automatically figure out who is on call and contact that person until a response is made or automatic escalation performed. And then finally, we persist all of the events, all of the data we get out of Datadog into long-term storage, Sumo Logic. And what this does is allow us to perform both automatic and manual review of the types of events we're getting and determine the effectiveness of our monitoring, of our actions or reactions to what that monitoring is telling us, and adjusting for noise, adjusting for areas that we may have gaps in. So again, it's very central to our continuous improvement as well. So one of the challenges, though, that we've started to find is how do you deal with moving thresholds for alerts? Sometimes CPU utilization is high for a reason. So how do we deal with that? Outlier detection is our answer. So Datadog has a really cool feature in it that's going to allow us to basically look at groups of systems performing similar tasks and find ones that are underperforming or have different characteristics and deal with them appropriately, pull them out, kill them, let auto-scaling deal with them, rebuild them, whatever the action is, take some sort of action. And in the past, this has been very beneficial for us. We've been able to find, poor performing instances and pools. In other environments outside of AWS, we've been able to find cases where environments were maybe over-provisioned or under-provisioned, I should say. It's even helped us identify issues with applications. Perhaps there's a problem with garbage collection, how the JVM's configured. With outlier detection, we're able to find all of those. And in this example, you can see this group of servers that make up this cluster. One clearly stands out from the others. As a matter of fact, we've got some additional implementations planned around this to help us better leverage some of our third-party integrations that don't have out-of-the-box outlier detection and pull that data into Datadog and take some sort of action on it. So that's cool, but what else can we do with it? Well, most of our focus of my presentation so far has been around looking at data from a real-time perspective. You know, what actions do we immediately need to take? Well, what's great with Datadog is we also have the ability to look backwards. We can, you know, inquire. We can look at trend data. For cases where, you know, there may be some sort of outage with applications, we're able to perform true root cause analysis. We're able to build the timeline that describes the events that took place, and we're able to pinpoint down to where in the infrastructure that outage was due to. We're also able to look forward for our customers who may have planned scaling events or increase in traffic. We have the ability to look at how we previously performed during those situations and determine if our approach to auto-scaling, if our environment infrastructure configurations are suitable or sufficient enough to handle that. Just as cool as that, though, one of the massive powers of Datadog is its number of integrations. There are well over 100 of them. It integrates with just about any AWS service you can imagine. And not only does it get the metadata of those services, it's capable of truly integrating with them, such as SNS. Not only do I know how many messages have been sent, I can actually send messages from Datadog through SNS. And what's cool about this is with the breadth of integrations that are supported by Datadog, there's not a singular audience in our organization or any organization that isn't aided by these capabilities. Operation folks get visibility into what's going on the infrastructure side. There's integrations with statuspage.io, so they could get the service status for a number of different popular websites. There's integrations with the AWS status page itself, so you're not having to scrape the RSS feeds. From a security perspective, you have the ability to look at the life of your KMS keys, for example, and you can consume alerts derived from Sumo Logic, as an example. A developer, just as much value as an operations folks will get from Datadog, developers will get just as much, if not even more. On the AWS side, it integrates with a number of different DevOps services, such as Code Deploy. It integrates with third-party solutions, such as Ansible, so you could see your Ansible runs, or Jenkins, or Bamboo. You could see the output of all of those jobs and take action. Even from a business perspective, you can get business data out of your application through custom metrics and post it to Datadog for business users to consume. You can even pull off billing data from AWS, or even use third-party solutions such as Cloud Health or Cloud Checker. All of that integrated into Datadog. So stepping back a little bit, one of the huge values that we found with Datadog is we can have it implemented by default. Datadog will communicate with AWS using the API and is able to automatically detect or discover new services as they're created. So you're no longer facing coverage gaps when someone creates, say, a new VM and forgets to add it to the monitoring solution. or enable SNMP or WMI for monitoring. In addition to that, there is an agent that allows you to collect a rich set of metrics from the OS and above. It can be automatically installed via command line and even automatically configured via a series of YAML files. So for us, we've basically created different profiles. Our bootstrapping scripts, depending on the role that the instance is supporting, will automatically download the right configuration so that we're able to pull metrics from, say, Internet Information Services, IIS, or able to pull metrics from, storage for SQL and things like that. What's great about this as well is it scales. John talked a little bit about traditional monitoring solutions and open source solutions. So I spent a period of my life running such a solution and running it on AWS. And that was especially challenging for two reasons. The first is scale. I not only have to worry about scaling my business and ensuring my platforms are scaling, I need to worry about scaling my monitoring tool. It drove me crazy. The other is, when do you need your monitoring tool the most? For us, it was during an outage. And some of those outages actually affected our monitoring tool, effectively making us blind to what was going on. As a matter of fact, it got to a point where we had a monitoring tool to monitor our monitoring tool. Quite counterproductive and a poor use of time. So when we selected Datadog, and that was probably 2.5, 3 years ago, we did look. We looked at probably about 8 different products, a mix of both, open source, commercial, deployed on-prem solutions, as well as a few SaaS, including Datadog. And we quickly eliminated the open source and on-prem stuff just for that reason. We didn't want to be in the business of running a monitoring tool. We wanted to be the beneficiary of it. And then when we looked at what was out there in the SaaS marketplace, we again were blown away by the number of integrations afforded by Datadog, the ease of use, and ease of implementation. As a matter of fact, on that side, Datadog offers multi-channel support, very comprehensive documentation and examples. Pricing is very much so cloud aware. As a matter of fact, it will even support auto-scaled type pricing. So you're not necessarily paying per device per month. You're looking more like per hour, per device hour. It's constantly adding new features. And even better, all of the source code for the agent is available in GitHub. So if you're ever wondering the data behind a certain metric, and you can't quite get the answer you're looking for out of the documentation, just look at the source code. It's written in Python, so it's very easy to read even for a non-developer like me. Further, we've actually been able to extend the capabilities of Datadog and write our own custom integrations using the API. Combined with some of the capabilities of AWS, we've created auto-scaling solutions for shrink-wrap software that wasn't designed to auto-scale. We've been able to automate repetitive tasks, in the self-healing category. If we see a service misbehaving, we detect that in Datadog and we'll automatically restart it. So again, very great breadth of capabilities around the integration side. So let's talk a little bit about what we gain from all of this. So most importantly, as an MSP, we're gaining insight across our entire base of customers. This is cool because sometimes an outage of a particular service is not going to affect just one customer. And so we're quickly able to correlate those customers together and determine if there's a systemic outage. Customers that we onboard are able to take advantage of our 2.5, 3 years of learnings of what's important to monitor. They automatically get added to that suite of configurations we've done in the agent, the triggers that we've built, the alerts, the escalations, all of that, simply by just clicking a button. It also supports our customers' internal DevOps initiatives. It integrates with a number of DevOps tools, as I described earlier, and on top of that, with it being auto-scaled, instance aware, and self-discovering, it makes it very easy to drop in. It makes us a stronger next generation MSP. A lot of the capabilities in Datadog align to what AWS is looking for us to provide as an MSP. And one thing I forgot to mention is specifically the integrations we're using. So Datadog does a great job of event collection, processing, displaying events, collecting metrics, processing metrics, taking action on metrics. But it doesn't necessarily do on-call escalation. I wouldn't throw gigabytes or terabytes of log data at it. And again, those integrations with things like Sumo Logic, with OpsGenie, with Slack, New Relic, it allows us to again, take the data from those tools and push things through. That's been especially useful for New Relic. We've got certain customers where we can't dictate necessarily what APM they're using. We could dictate what they're using for monitoring, but not the APM. So we're able to actually pull in metrics from the customer's New Relic account and consume them in Datadog and display them in Datadog and alert on them. This is awesome, especially because they have a number of customers that they're doing the same with. So again, we're automatically able to add those customers, add those triggers, and not have to think too much about it. And finally, Datadog allows us to further enhance our security footprint and the security footprint of our customers with integration with a number of out-of-the-box security solutions, and then a lot of custom work we've performed in looking for certain security events. You know, are users logging in at unexpected times, for example, and taking action on that. So to summarize, our relationship and use of Datadog has been of great benefit to us, becoming a next-gen MSP, and you know, improving how we deliver to our customers. So at this point, thank you everyone very much, and I will turn it back over to Casey.
Great, thank you so much, Patrick, and also want to give a big thank you to John and Thomas as well. And so before we wrap up and open it up to questions, just love to give some next steps. So if you have any questions at all around monitoring or the Datadog Partner Program, please feel free to reach out to John Gray, partners at datadoghq.com. We're happy to get you up and running in a free trial, answer any questions you may have. Now, for those who have questions around the AWS MSP Partner Program, perhaps around how you pass the audit, feel free to reach out to Thomas at aws-msp@amazon.com. And then any questions at all around being a Datadog partner, what it means to be a next generation managed service provider, feel free to reach out to Patrick and the team at CloudHesive, and that is patrick.hanna@cloudhesive.com. So again, a big thank you to John, Thomas, and Patrick for that wonderful conversation around what it means to be a next generation managed service provider. And at this time, love to open it up for Q&A. And so the first question we have is for you, Thomas. And someone is wondering, what are the biggest challenges you see managed service providers facing when it comes to passing the audit?
That's a great question, and I think it really depends on what perspective the managed service provider is coming from. If they're coming from an area where they're providing traditional managed services with on-prem, sometimes they'll have organizational challenges with standing up a new cloud-focused practice, and we'd encourage them to talk with us about challenges that they can strategies they can use to get over that internally, to identify how to break off and really set up a cloud practice that looks next gen rather than carrying baggage over from traditional practices, because the technology requirements may not fit with older tools that they're coming from. With the newer born in the cloud type MSPs, the challenges are typically around how they offer 24/7 service. If they're coming from a perspective where they're offering consulting services, where they're used to building things and handing them over to customers, how do you turn that into a managed service? And that's really all about building cloud native scalable solutions that then aren't a pain to manage. The more cloud native you build an application, the better it's going to run, and the easier it will be to carry on running for years.
Great, thank you. And now, John, we also have a question for you. We have some questions around how exactly managed service providers work with Datadog. In what ways does Datadog help someone pass the AWS audit? And how does a managed service provider work with Datadog in general from a day-to-day standpoint?
Yeah, great question. So let me, there were a couple of, I'll call it sub-questions with that. So let's just break off a few. So first and foremost, what we are seeing, if I take a look at a few of our MSPs, that they're looking to address all of the things that we just talked about on the call today. But the first and foremost, that a lot of our MSPs want to do first is just prove out the capability of the platform. So in terms of getting going for our MSPs, we do provide a free trial. And in fact, in a few days' time, we will be releasing to our MSPs the ability to access a demo account with, I'll call it with data already loaded into that demo account. The benefit of that is that most MSPs do not want to be in the business of using their customers' data to prove out the platform. So we're going to be releasing that to our MSPs. So in terms of, I'll call it the on-ramp, what we typically do is we work with the MSPs on 3 dimensions. Number one, getting them a demo account so that they can prove out the capability of the platform. Number 2 is really getting them going on an MSP agreement, because as you can appreciate, normally our relationship is with the MSP, but the MSP relationship is downstream with the customers. So we typically will get them going on an MSP agreement. And then thirdly is the technical enablement. So basically setting up a session with that MSP to make sure that they can optimize the full capacity, if you like, of Datadog within their environment. If you think about some of the things that were talked about on the call today relative to the integrations, the dashboards, if you think about, well, hey, I've got ServiceNow or those kinds of things, we've got different dashboards for different environments. And so it's important that we help our MSPs get, I'll call it, fully optimized as quickly as possible, both around their own environment, but also around the integrations that they have. So those will be the 3 primary things that we do first and foremost. What we also are seeing happening is that, it's not just about helping the MSP to optimize their operations. We're also helping our MSPs by bundling the Datadog service with their services out to their customers. So, without naming names, we've got MSPs out there who have got services very much oriented around AWS. If you're an AWS customer, come to us as the MSP, and we can run your AWS environment for you. And we'll provide you the monitoring capability as part of that. So it's not for us just I'll call it sell to kind of relationship in terms of managing the operations and the environment, but we've talked about all of the, I'll call it value props around that. It's also, we're seeing a lot of interest from our MSPs in terms of how we can bundle Datadog out to their customers. Again, kind of what I talked about earlier was stickiness, where there can be better transparency in validating the services that the MSP are providing to their customers by providing that transparency out to their customers. So I hope that kind of addresses the question, but those would be some of the things that we see going on live with our MSPs today.
Yes, that was great. And that's actually the perfect segue for a question I have for you, Patrick. Someone on the phone is wondering, how do you include Datadog in your managed services business? So what does that bundle look like when you go out to clients?
That's actually an awesome question, because one of our value props is eliminating the need for our customers to care for and feed for their environment. To some customers, they hear that as a loss of control. What do you mean I can't get insight into what the monitoring is saying? So we've got a few approaches we take. First of all, we're able to demonstrate to our customers the comprehensive suite of data points we collect and the triggers and thresholds we've implemented, how we react to them. So there's SLAs assigned to all of them that we're commercially obligated to. And further, we're able to publish that information to them in a number of ways. Custom dashboards available, directly in Datadog, integrating with third-party solutions, and we're even in the process of actually making the data in Datadog available through our customer dashboard as well.
Great, thank you. And so we are just about at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. So again, if you have any outstanding questions that were not addressed, please feel free to reach out to John, Thomas, or Patrick, and they would be happy to address any questions that you may have. And so with that, I would just like to say thank you again to John, Patrick, and Thomas. It's been a wonderful discussion. And thank you to those who joined us on the call. Look forward to having you again on the next webinar in the future. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks all.